What all was around Paul when you walked up?
Blood.
Anything else?
I mean, there was some body things, yes, sir.
I mean, like any other evidence. I know you said the phone fell out the pocket, but did you see anything else that didn't belong or shouldn't belong or that wasn't part of Paul?
No, sir, not, no, not, no, sir.
How about Maggie?
No, sir.
You didn't see anything around them?
All right, Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, everything we talk about in everything is about baseline. So we start from whatever is normal for the person in the situation. Again, it's not normal for you to sit around in on your couch eating Cheetos. That baseline. We're talking about the baseline you're dealing with when you're asking non-pertinent questions. So we see some of that. We see him starting off with more of that same factual baseline, and he's fairly normal until he's asked about Maggie. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But there's no grimace or distaste or any negative emotion about blood or body stuff around his son. Anybody find that odd? I mean, all kinds of people deal with things different ways. If you found a dog who had been shot, you would probably have a grimace around that, not your child. And I will say this, we say sudden politeness matters, but this is low country South Carolina. That sudden politeness is just politeness. In the part of Georgia I live in, there are people who refuse to call me by my first name because I'm older. And so it's just part of the culture, just to point that out. There could be a reason, but I don't think it is. It's out of character that he retracts the side of his mouth and does some odd thing with his mouth. He grimaces when he's asked, is there anything around Maggie? He does that. He absolutely does not answer the question, nods his head a little, shakes his head a little, and makes eye contact for the first time in the entire video. We talk about baseline. We talk about deviations from baseline. Ding, ding, ding. I would say, hold on a minute. Why did you suddenly do something different? Or I'd make a mental note and come back and poke and prod it again and again and again. Chase, what do you got?
This guy's a prosecutor which I learned from Greg as we were kind of ramping up for this episode on Zoom. And he's probably tried a bunch of cases. This is proof that no matter how many cases you do, you don't get inoculated to not displaying the perfect behaviors. All four of us, you can go back and watch us through these videos. We get stressed out. Our blink rate goes up. We have the same human responses that anyone else does. It doesn't give you some hall pass to never display these behaviors again when you learn them. And that's what we're seeing here. A prosecutor who probably thought that he was inoculated against all of this stuff. He knew what to say. He didn't know how to say it. And that's the big difference. And Greg, I'm just going to say this politeness that we are seeing here is a spike. And it's not really present anywhere else here. And I'm Arkansas. My family's all from Arkansas. I see a lot of that, but the moment it spikes up higher than it ever does in the conversation. So I'm just going to look at it as a one data point, not some big thing that reveals anything. Right about the specifics concerning the crime scene. And he's gone from no emotion and minimal responsiveness to more responsive, more eye contact, and suddenly using the word sir. I would just say this is a little spike here that's concerning to me. But notice also when he's being asked to think back and go through the crime scene, there's no emotion and zero eye accessing. We move our eyes around in our head to access all kinds of details. There is none of that here. This is another huge red flag for me. Scott?
All right, I want to talk about one thing. When, like you were just saying, Chase, when somebody goes back through that and you ask them a question about what they saw or what happened, and they're reliving that because they're there and their brain's seeing it, they go into this blank stare almost as they start telling you about it. We don't see that at all. This guy isn't doing anything that normal humans would do, or that in my experience so far, things that I've seen, where a person explaining what happened or describing a scene or what was going on there doesn't do anything they normally do, or that I'm under the impression they normally do. There's nothing. And you're right, Greg, when he connects with them, but it's not that connection of what the hell. There's nothing. I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. There's nothing happening here that says I'm worried about this. I can't believe it. This has got me stressed. It should just be freaking him out, and it isn't. Except for that, he tried to pull it off the top with that fake cry, which we all during the thing we got the giggles off us because it looked like he was laughing. If you go back and watch that, you'll see what I'm talking about. But man, this doesn't show anything it should be showing for someone who's gone through something so horrific. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with
Hey,
all.
can I correct one thing, Mark, before you start?
Yeah, go for it.
I just double checked. He apparently did volunteer work in the solicitor's office, so he wasn't a full-time prosecutor. Just for your knowledge. Okay.
Yeah, it's just too calm, just too still, and it's not the stillness of shock, because the tension would be in his body. You'd see him stuck there. You'd see some kind of catatonic state. He's too soft. It's too cool. It's too much like he's he's sitting on the couch eating Cheetos. It's just that kind of softness and rhythm. I totally agree. He's not seeing the scene in his head. We don't see any eye accessing. I don't care where his eyes go. I need his eyes to go somewhere to search for information, because he would know he's being asked information because there could be a clue. There could be a clue that could lead to the perpetrator right now. He doesn't even bother to go and look for that information. Why? Because he knows there's no information there. He knows there's nothing there that would help them find the perpetrator, because they found the perpetrator. He's sitting in the car next to them. Just no shock, no looking to the scene, so nonchalant. It's extraordinary, and so different from his tactic at the start. I think he stopped that tactic because, again, he got such a good response from the officers that, he thinks it's done now, and he doesn't need to go back to that tactic. That's all I got now.
Greg, what were you telling us earlier? We were going through some things earlier about the backstory on this. What else has this guy been into? What else has been going on?
Yeah, hold on one second. Yeah, this family is really prominent. So I think it's his father was the last prosecutor, but from 1920 to 2006, they held the office of prosecutor for that county. So really big legacy of legal family. He's got some ghosts in his past. If you go look, he's got some things around, like a housekeeper who died that they had some life insurance policy on. He's got some other stuff. There's a kid who his son went to school with who ended up dying, and there was rumor that his son was involved, and the case was closed, but has been reopened by the district attorney as a result of evidence they found during this case. He was estranged from his wife at the time of the murder, and if you go read the headlines, they say she was lured out to there. Apparently, he asked her to visit his terminally ill father, and she said no, she wanted to be in public because he was acting fishy. I mean, there's a ton of stuff in here. Just go out and look for yourself. There's more than one weapon involved. There's a ton of stuff in this case. There's just a lot for you to go look at. We could spend an entire hour just refuting and figuring out what's on the list of rumors and checklist. As Chase often says, we're not the forensics panel. We're telling you what we see in this video, and there's plenty. So this is good enough.
So, Greg, note to self, always get life insurance for domestic help. It's not odd. Not
Yeah,
odd.
for sure. For sure.
Not odd.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before. Has anybody
I've never heard of
that
it before. But I'm gonna do it. Why wouldn't you? I mean,
Wow. I don't.
just in case,
I mean, I don't know how
make
there's
a bit of money out of
so-
your domestic help just in case they die.
There's so much information out here on these guys. I think there's even a lot more. Like, he's got financial crimes that if he were to get off these charges, he's still got financial crimes to face. There's a ton of stuff that they've allowed into evidence. Just go watch. Look, I don't want to be the guy who misquotes something. I probably have misquoted some of that, but just go read. There's so much out there on this guy. You could spend all day trying to figure out all the craziness going on in this case.
The eyewitness is you.
What all was around Paul when you walked up?
Blood.
Anything else?
I mean, there was some body things. Yes, sir.
I mean, like any other evidence. I know you said the phone fell out the pocket, but did you see anything else that didn't belong or shouldn't belong or that wasn't part of Paul?
No, sir. Not the. No, sir.
How about Maggie?
No, sir.
You didn't see anything around them?
If you like this video, get the full body language breakdown and analysis on our main channel by clicking this video right here.